Good morning. Happy Tuesday? Yeah, happy Tuesday. All right, so hint, whenever you see a green box, it means you're doing an activity. In the last activity, you read an article that stresses the importance of reading and creativity in the lives of children. For the next two activities, you will read a poem that pays tribute to a librarian who taught the speaker of the poem to dream of a faraway world. You will then examine the relationship between the speaker and the librarian, Mrs. Long, by answering the questions about the text. So first you're going to learn background information about the author. You're going to read about the importance of setting purpose. You're going to read the text for the first time, and then you're going to answer questions that explore the relationship between the speaker and Mrs. Long. Finally, you're going to return to your purpose for reading and use evidence to support your observations about the poem. Can you only see half of my face because of the sun? Let me see if I can switch. That is not better. Okay, I'll be right back. All right, so I'm back and I'm inside. All right, so moving on. Move my face out of the way. So if you need translated instructions, click on your links here. It'll pop right up, and there you go. All right, so today you will read the text, A Poem for My Librarian, Mrs. Long. You can find the text right here. Click, and it pops right up. Watch the video to the left to hear the poem being read out loud. Do not skip that step. As you know, I love when you guys are able to, I'm trying to move stuff around, my table's all filled. I love when you guys are able to hear something being read to you before you read it yourself. So make sure you use this resource to have the poem read. Nikki Giovanni is an African-American poet, activist, and educator known for writing both children's and adult literature. Giovanni's work is concerned with political and social issues such as race, gender, as well as the experience of being a person, both young and old. Today's poem looks at her experience being a child and the impact an adult had on her relationship with books and the world outside her home. As you read today's text, consider how reading impacted Giovanni's relationship with the world around her. So the language focus, when you read the text, look at the footnotes. So whenever there's a footnote, please make sure that you look at the bottom to understand what the word means, or maybe sometimes they even explain things a little bit further. So make sure that you look at footnotes. All right, so the text has 4 footnotes. Some help you with vocabulary, some explain ideas in the text. In the boxes below, write the number of each footnote in the correct category. So you're now going through the text, looking through the footnotes, and whether it's vocabulary, maybe the first footnote, number 1, is vocabulary help, you're going to put a number 1 in vocabulary help. And then, for example, if the next one is idea help, you're going to put number 2 in there. And then just a quick reflection of the 4, which one was most helpful to you. So setting a purpose for reading. Setting a purpose for reading gives readers a guide of what to look for and what to think about while they read. As we learned, Giovanni wrote today's poem as a way to honor books and the librarian who supported her love of reading as a child. Over the next 2 days, we'll read the poem in order to determine its theme or its message about life or human nature. As you read today, keep in mind the following 2 questions. What was the speaker's relationship with Mrs. Long, and how did Mrs. Long's actions impact her life? You will then answer a few comprehension questions to help you further understand the speaker's relationship with the librarian. Sorry. All right. So first thing you're going to do, read the poem straight through as it's being read to you as well. Use that read aloud feature, please. Read the poem out loud or listen to the audio found on slide 3 so you can hear how the poem sounds. While you are reading or listening, consider the questions in the gray box below. Then write any ideas or observations you have after you're reading in the green box. So as you read today, keep in mind the following 2 questions. What is the speaker's relationship with Mrs. Long, and how did Mrs. Long's actions impact the speaker's life? I think I'm trying to read too fast and all the words are getting jumbled. All right. So then on slides 8 and 9, you'll be asked to answer questions that closely look at the relationship between the speaker and the librarian, Mrs. Long. So you're going to read the question and then answer it in the green space. I'm not going to go through all the questions. I'm just going to have you just read it yourself and answer those questions. Let me read first to see if they're, Yeah, so the first question is just what's your first impression? That's not a difficult question to answer. The next question is, okay, so Mrs. Long goes to the library uptown to borrow books for the speaker. The speaker imagines that the white librarians said something humiliating to Mrs. Long. Why does the poet include this information, and what does it tell you about Mrs. Long? That's a little bit more in depth. You're looking into the character of Mrs. Long, and you're going to kind of analyze her experiences as a person. So you're looking into Mrs. Long's character, and you're going to think about why the author included that information to give you information about Mrs. Long. Why do you feel like the author wants you to know more about that character? Next question, what's the speaker's reactions? That's not a difficult one to understand. And then you're kind of talking about the impact of Mrs. Long on the speaker. And then it's having you revisit the question that you read after doing the comprehension questions, and then you're going to be thinking about the same exact question. So you're going to answer this first on your first read without answering the questions, and then you're going to answer it again after you answer those comprehension questions. So the whole idea here is to kind of get you to understand that those comprehension questions or those optional stop and jot questions that a lot of you passed by when you had those lessons before that gave you optional things really do help you to understand the big picture here. So you're answering it first without doing the comprehension questions, and then again doing the comprehension questions. So if you need additional help, this is a slide about inferences. I don't need to read this whole thing, but if you need this additional help, make sure that you read this. Okay? That's it for today. Attendance, questions. I'll see you tomorrow.